Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. We live in a world where narcissism is often mistaken for confidence, where manipulation is praised as leadership, and where empty charisma is given more value than solid character. But let me tell you something. Image may get attention, but only integrity builds legacy. Narcissists love to play the game of success, but what they're building isn't success, it's a stage. And every stage has a closing curtain. Now, you might have been hurt by one. You might be working for one. You might even be one, and today is your wake-up call. Because the narcissist has a destination. It might look like they're winning now, but trust me, the game ends very differently than it started. And if you don't understand where that path leads, you'll either be destroyed by their storm or become the storm yourself. But today we're pulling back the curtain because we're not just here to talk about where the narcissist ends up. We're here to decide where you end up. Are you ready? Let's get something straight. Growth and control are not the same thing. One is about becoming better. The other is about appearing better. One is rooted in humility, the other in fear. And the narcissist doesn't want to grow. They want to dominate. See, growth requires surrender. You've got to admit you're not perfect. You've got to expose your weaknesses, face your insecurities, and accept that there are things you don't know. Growth requires you to submit yourself to a process, often one you don't control. That's uncomfortable. That's vulnerable. That's real. But the narcissist doesn't want real. They want control. They want to manipulate the narrative, manage perceptions, and mold people's opinions, not by being excellent, but by appearing superior. Because if you look deeper, you'll see something most people miss. Narcissists are afraid. They're afraid of not being enough. They're afraid of being exposed. They're afraid of not mattering without the mask. So they spend their lives building walls instead of building character. They seek to dominate people because they're afraid of being truly known. Control is the illusion they cling to in order to avoid the painful truth of self-development. And let me be real with you. You can control people or you can connect with them, but you can't do both. Narcissists crave power more than purpose, influence more than impact, applause more than authenticity. And as long as you're chasing control, you will never grow. Growth doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't consult your pride. It demands change. And narcissists don't change. They adapt just enough to keep their mask on, to keep the spotlight pointed their direction, and to keep people believing there's something they're not. But eventually that mask cracks, because when you chase control, you stunt your evolution. You surround yourself with yes men, echo chambers, and people too afraid to speak truth into your life. And let me tell you something. If nobody around you can challenge you, you're not growing. You're pretending. You see, control is short-term power. It's emotional manipulation, fake charm, coercion, and smoke and mirrors influence. It gets you the deal, maybe. It gets you the attention for a moment. It might even get you the position, but it can't build wealth that lasts. It can't build relationships that thrive. And it definitely can't build legacy. God didn't design you to control people. He designed you to serve, to lead people, to inspire people. The narcissist says, look at me. The leader says, let's show you what's possible. Control says, I need to dominate this environment to feel secure. Growth says, I'll face the discomfort because I know on the other side of it is a stronger, wiser version of me. And that's the problem. Narcissists are addicted to certainty, not truth. They're addicted to being right, not becoming better. So what happens? Their growth is capped. Their potential is limited. They can't receive correction, they resist accountability, and they reject feedback because feedback feels like a threat instead of a gift. And without correction, there's no direction. The path of the narcissist is paved with the corpses of relationships, broken trust, and missed potential. Because in trying to control others, they lose control of themselves. They can't stop manipulating. They can't stop lying. They can't stop performing. And before long, they don't even know who they are anymore, just who they're pretending to be. Let me tell you something. When you are addicted to control, everything becomes a threat. Someone else's success, that's a threat. Someone else's confidence, a threat. Someone else's freedom, a threat. You can't celebrate anybody because your ego is always in competition. And as long as you're competing with everyone, you can never collaborate with anyone. You isolate yourself trying to be superior. But God didn't call you to be superior. He called you to be significant. And significance doesn't come from control. It comes from growth, real growth, painful growth, private growth, quiet growth, the kind that nobody applauds but heaven notices, the kind that makes you confront your demons instead of controlling other people. So where does the narcissist end up? Right where they started, alone, insecure and exhausted. They climbed a ladder built on control, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. They got everything they wanted, status, applause, influence, but never became the person they were created to be because they never grew. They only grabbed. But let me flip it. You're not called to that life. You don't have to live like that. You can choose growth over control. You can choose to face your reflection instead of manipulating the room. You can choose the uncomfortable path of real transformation over the easy path of empty validation. And yes, it will cost you. Growth will humble you. It'll break you. It'll stretch you. But it will also build you. Because only what grows will last. And only what's real can bear fruit. So ask yourself, are you trying to be in control? Or are you trying to become better? Because you can't do both. And at the end of the day, those who chase control may look powerful. But those who choose growth are powerful. One's building a facade. The other's building a future. Choose wisely. Let's talk about applause. Applause feels good. It feels like confirmation. It feels like validation. It feels like arrival. And for the narcissist, that applause isn't just a bonus, it's the goal. They live it. They feed off it. And if they're not getting it, they'll find a way to manufacture it. But here's the truth. What you gain through performance, you have to maintain through performance. And when your identity is built on being praised, your soul becomes addicted to being seen. The narcissist masters the art of impression. They know how to walk into a room and steal the moment. They know how to say the right thing, wear the right mask, and manipulate the atmosphere so all eyes turn to them. And people clap, not because of substance, but because of spectacle. They clap because they're caught up in the illusion. But illusions fade. Spotlights move. Crowds shift. And when the show is over and the audience goes home, the narcissist is left standing on the stage alone. Because here's what they never tell you about applause. It doesn't build intimacy and it doesn't build loyalty. It builds spectators. And spectators don't stay. They cheer, they admire, they repost your quotes, but they don't know you and they won't carry you. They celebrate your image, not your identity. Narcissists confuse attention with affection, but attention is rented. It's conditional. It's driven by what have you done for me lately. The moment you stop performing, the applause stops. The moment you reveal something vulnerable, the fans scatter. Because they didn't love you, they loved the version of you that entertained them, served them, and flattered them. And the narcissist finds themselves isolated, not because people rejected them, but because they never let people in to begin with. When your whole life is about applause, you start editing your personality to please the crowd. You become a character instead of a person. You say what people want to hear. You avoid the truth if it risks popularity. You shrink your authenticity to protect your image. And eventually you don't know who you are without the clapping. But let me ask you something. What good is applause if you have no peace? What good is a crowd that cheers when you're up, but disappears when you fall? What good is influence if you're isolated from real connection? The narcissist's game is short term. Get the admiration. Win the approval. Take the spotlight. But it always comes at a cost, because they alienate the very people who could bring them healing, correction, and truth. The people who genuinely care are pushed away because they don't feed the ego. And the people who stay are either fooled, controlled, or just as broken. That's not winning. That's a slow path to emptiness. Eventually, the cracks start to show. The mask slips. The inconsistency catches up. People notice the manipulation. They feel the coldness under the charm. They realize the narcissist doesn't really care, just attends well. And one by one, the crowd thins out. The phone stops ringing. The platform loses traction. The once admiring circle becomes a mirror of silence. This is where the narcissist ends up. Surrounded by people, yet relationally bankrupt, in the center of attention, but disconnected from affection. Famous on the outside, but forgotten on the inside. And the saddest part, many of them don't even see it happening. Because when you live for the crowd, you get caught in the lie that more applause will fix the loneliness. So you hustle harder. You post more. You exaggerate, you provoke, you become more outrageous, more extreme, anything to get the spotlight back. But the spotlight won't save you. It never could. The only thing that saves you is truth. The truth about who you are. The truth about why you're doing what you're doing, and the truth about the difference between being loved and being liked. Being liked is easy. It just takes performance. But being loved, that takes authenticity. That takes vulnerability. That takes honesty. And none of those things exist in the narcissist world. You can't be vulnerable when you're busy being impressive. You can't be loved when you're busy being worshiped. You can't have real community when you're only showing up as a carefully curated version of yourself. But here's the good news. This isn't where you have to end up. You don't have to live your life chasing claps from people who don't know your name. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to perform. You can choose truth. You can choose depth. You can choose to be known instead of just noticed. And listen, being real might not get you the loudest applause, but it will get you the strongest relationships. It will attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right alignment, because when you stop faking, you start flourishing. You weren't created to live in isolation. You weren't built to perform your way through life. You were created for connection, purpose, and impact. And none of those things can be built on applause. They're built on truth, service, and love. So let the narcissist chase the stage. Let them keep their claps, their followers, their ego-driven kingdoms. You don't need that. You're building something deeper, something eternal, something that doesn't vanish when the crowd gets quiet. Because when you build with character, you'll never have to fear collapse. And when you walk in truth, you'll never have to walk alone. You were made for more than applause. You were made for purpose. Choose purpose. You can fake a lot of things in this life. You can fake charm. You can fake confidence. You can fake competence. You can even fake character for a little while. But what you can't fake forever is truth. Because truth is undefeated. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't beg for your approval. And it doesn't play by your timeline. It always shows up. The narcissist spends their life constructing an image. Everything is about perception. What people see, what people think, what people say. They master the art of illusion. They make sure they're seen in the right room, saying the right words, surrounded by the right people. It looks like success. It sounds like leadership, but it's hollow. And here's why truth doesn't live in how things look. Truth lives in how things are. There's only so long you can build your house on lies before the foundation gives way. You may fool the crowd for a season, but eventually the fruit exposes the root. That smile hides a spirit of epinetial. That generosity is bait for control. That success is dressed up dysfunction. And while the narcissist may get ahead in the short term, they always forget one thing. Time is not on the side of the deceiver. Time walks hand in hand with truth. You see, truth doesn't need to be defended. It just needs to be revealed. And revelation always comes. Maybe not when you expect it. Maybe not in the moment you want it. But the truth always arrives right on schedule. Because God doesn't allow lies to reign forever. He may allow the proud to rise for a moment, but he always brings them low. Scripture says pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. That's not a suggestion, that's a promise. And when someone builds their life, their business, their brand, or their ministry on deception, manipulation, and control, there will be a fall. It's not if, it's when. The narcissist believes they are the exception. They believe they're too clever to get caught. They believe they're too charming to be questioned. And when they see others fall, they say, that won't be me. But what they don't realize is that truth doesn't care how charming you are. Truth is not impressed with your resume. Truth doesn't bow to charisma. Truth stands above it all, waiting for the perfect moment to pull the curtain back. And when it does, the crash is loud. Reputation crumbles. Relationships rupture. Influence dissolves. Because everything that was built on fiction falls apart under the weight of fact. Now here's the thing about truth. It doesn't just reveal what you did. It reveals who you are. And when the narcissist world collapses, it's not just their actions that are exposed, it's their intentions. People begin to realize that the smiles were fake, the praise was manipulation, and the connection was never genuine. It was all just currency for control. But the most tragic part, the narcissist is usually the last one to see it because they've been lying so long, not just to others, but to themselves. They've convinced themselves that they're the hero. They've rewritten reality in their own mind. And so when the truth comes out, they see it as an attack, never a correction. They call it betrayal, not justice. They label it persecution, not exposure. But let me be real with you. Exposure is grace. God doesn't expose people to embarrass them. He exposes them to redeem them because you can't heal what you hide. And sometimes the most merciful thing he can do is shine a light on what you kept in the dark. See, truth doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to deliver you. But if you resist it, if you fight it, if you run from it, it will still do its job. It'll still tear down the illusion. It'll still reveal the rot beneath the surface. It'll still strip away the lie. The only difference is whether it redeems you or ruins you, and that depends on your response. So what does this mean for you? It means you don't need to live in fear if you're walking in truth, because when you're real, when you're honest, when you're humble, truth becomes your protection, not your punishment. You don't have to keep up an act. You don't have to manage a false image. You don't have to worry about being found out because there's nothing to hide. That's freedom. But if you've been living a lie, if your success has been built on half-truths, false impressions, and ego, you need to know the truth is coming. You can delay it. You can distract from it, but you can't defeat it. So the wisest thing you can do is surrender to it now. Don't wait for the exposure to hit your platform, your family, your business. Deal with it in the private place so God doesn't have to deal with it in the public square. Because what God covers, he covers in mercy. But what he exposes for justice. And for those who've been on the other side, those who were lied to, manipulated, discarded by someone who played the narcissist game, take heart. The truth is, working even when you can't see it. You don't have to fight for revenge. You don't have to chase closure. Just stand still and let the truth rise, because it will rise. And when it does, it won't just justify you. It'll free you. The narcissist builds their kingdom with lies, but kingdoms built on lies always burn. What stands is what's real. What lasts is what's true. And what's true is always coming to light. So choose truth today before the spotlight does it for you. Every person on this planet is building something, whether you know it or not, whether you're intentional or not. You are building. The only question is, what are you building? Are you building a legacy, or are you building a monument to your ego? See, legacy and ego look similar in the beginning. Both can drive ambition. Both can lead to high achievement. Both can get attention. But don't be fooled. They are fueled by two completely different spirits. Legacy is rooted in impact. Ego is rooted in image. Legacy thinks about generations. Ego thinks about followers. Legacy is driven by purpose. Ego is driven by applause. Legacy serves others. Ego serves itself. And narcissists, they don't build legacies. They build empires made of mirrors, every wall reflecting their own greatness. Every decision made to preserve their power, every accomplishment twisted into a self-congratulatory performance. To the world, it looks like influence. But to heaven, it's hollow. Because ego is loud, but legacy is lasting. The narcissist craves the rush of being admired. They want to be the center of every room, the answer to every problem, the source of every win. And here's the deception. They're not content with success unless it proves they're superior. They'll sacrifice relationships, values, even truth itself, just to maintain the illusion that they're irreplaceable. They don't want to raise people up. They want people to remain beneath them, dependent on them, devoted to them. That's not legacy. That's tyranny with a smile. Legacy requires humility. It means being willing to plant seeds you may never see grow. It means empowering people who may outshine you. It means pouring into others not so they remember you, but so they carry the mission beyond you. Legacy is bigger than your name. Ego is obsessed with your name. And when you choose ego, you forfeit legacy. Let's make this real. The narcissist refuses to delegate, not because others can't do the job, but because they can't stand not being in control. They don't mentor, they manipulate. They don't empower, they exploit. Because deep down, their greatest fear isn't failure, it's being forgotten. They're not trying to build something that lasts. They're trying to build something that shines while they're still alive to see it. But hear me, what you build for your ego dies when you do. It may leave behind noise, but it doesn't leave behind meaning. That's why so many so-called great men of history are remembered with regret, not honor. Their companies may have thrived. Their names may be etched in books, but their children resented them. Their teams were broken. Their communities suffered because everything they built was filtered through self. That's the narcissist curse. They win, but alone. They succeed, but hollow. They're admired, but not loved. And after all the lights go out and the applause fades, they're read with the terrifying truth that they built something big, but not something eternal. And here's what we must understand. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you send forward. You send it forward in the people you develop, in the values you uphold, in the systems you build that bless others, even when your name is no longer on the door, in the culture that still reflects your convictions after you've exited the room. And none of that can be accomplished when ego is in the driver's seat. Ego doesn't want to share. Legacy requires collaboration. Ego says, I want the credit. Legacy says, I want the change. Ego says, look at me. Legacy says, follow the mission. So here's the question. Are you building for applause or for impact? Because you can't have both. Applause fades. Impact multiplies. One is about today, the other is about tomorrow. Let's be honest. Ego feels good in the short term. It's seductive. It tells you you're special. It whispers that you're the exception. It demands that everything revolve around you. And for a while, it might even work. You might get the praise. You might get the promotion. You might get the spotlight. But make no mistake, ego is a thief. It steals your potential. It sabotages your relationships. And most of all, it robs the world of what you were really called to contribute. Because your calling was never about you. Your gift wasn't given so people could admire you. It was given so people could encounter God through you. But narcissists don't see their gift as a responsibility. They see it as leverage. They use it to elevate themselves instead of elevating others. And that's why they never build legacy. Because legacy is selfless. It requires you to think generationally. It requires you to value people more than performance. It requires you to be willing to be the foundation, not the facade. And foundations are invisible, but they're what hold everything up. Here's the irony. The more you obsess over being remembered, the less impact you actually make. But the more you humble yourself, serve others, and live in truth, the more people carry your spirit long after you're gone. That's legacy. So I'm challenging you today. Don't build something that dies when you stop breathing. Don't trade eternal impact for temporary ego. Don't chase titles and trophies while your integrity erodes and your relationships crumble. You weren't made for self-worship. You were made to serve a higher purpose, to multiply, to leave something behind that lasts. Not your image, not your brand, but your fruit. Because when the story is over and the book is closed, it won't matter how many people knew your name. What will matter is how many lives were changed. Because you chose legacy over ego. So choose wisely. There's a truth that stands the test of time. The righteous always outlast the manipulative. Maybe not in the beginning, maybe not in the middle, but always in the end. Because when it's all said and done, what's built on integrity remains, and what's built on manipulation crumbles. Manipulators play the short game. They move with strategy, not sincerity. They don't lead with truth. They lead with tactics. Their goal is not to serve, but to sway. They twist facts, vest blame, and manufacture confusion so they can control the narrative. They build alliances, not relationships. They manufacture loyalty, not trust. And they do it all under the illusion of wisdom. But there's a big difference between being strategic and being spiritual. Being strategic can get you influence. But being spiritual, being righteous, being principled, being anchored in truth, that's what gives you longevity. The manipulative can rise quickly. They may get the spotlight. They may gain followers. They may secure influence in a hurry. But fast elevation without a righteous foundation is a setup for a sudden collapse. Because anything built without character will eventually be tested by fire. And when the fire comes, when pressure, exposure, and adversity hit, the manipulative fold while the righteous endure. You see, manipulation is a counterfeit of wisdom. It mimics leadership. It mimics charisma. It mimics strength. But it's fueled by fear. The manipulator doesn't truly trust people, so they try to control them. They don't walk by faith. They walk by calculation. Every word is rehearsed. Every interaction is engineered. Every decision is about power, not principle. And let me tell you something. God never backs manipulation. He may allow it for a season. He may let the manipulative rise, but he never lets them reign for long. Because God doesn't build his kingdom on deception. He builds it on truth, on unity, and on righteousness. And when the manipulators overstep, he steps in. You can see this play out all through Scripture. Pharaoh tried to manipulate through fear and control. God broke his power. Saul tried to manipulate his way back into favor. God replaced him with David. Jezebel manipulated behind the throne. God judged her, and her name became a symbol of rebellion. Over and over again, the manipulative are removed, but the righteous remain. And here's the key difference. The manipulator pushes their way in. The righteous are placed. When God places you, no one can displace you. When God promotes you, no one can demote you. You don't have to fight for position, lie for influence, or deceive to stay relevant. You just have to walk in integrity, obey his voice, and stay submitted to his timing. The manipulator has to keep working to maintain what they stole. The righteous simply steward what was given. And in the long run, one wears out, the other wears well. So if you've ever looked around and wondered, why does the manipulator seem to be succeeding? Why do they keep winning? Why do they keep getting ahead? Don't lose heart. Because what's done in the dark always comes to light. And what's built in the flesh cannot survive in the spirit. God has a way of letting the manipulative build their own platform and then letting their own actions bring it down. It's not your job to expose them. It's not your job to fight them. It's your job to stay righteous, to keep your hands clean, to keep your motives pure, to move with excellence, to speak truth even when it's costly, because when others are operating in deceit, you don't beat them by becoming like them. You beat them by outlasting them. And hear this, righteousness is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not naivety. It's power under submission. It's strength restrained by wisdom. It's clarity guided by truth. And it's the only way to build something that lasts. Because when the storm comes, and it will come, manipulation collapses, but righteousness stands. The manipulator's relationships are shallow because they're based on usefulness, not love. The righteous form deep connections because they show up with humility, not ego. The manipulator's influence is shaky because it's built on lies. The righteous earn trust, and that trust becomes legacy. The manipulator's peace is temporary because it depends on maintaining control. The righteous walk in peace because they trust God with outcomes. So when you see the manipulative climbing fast, don't envy them. Don't try to match them. Don't compromise to compete. Just keep being faithful. Keep walking in truth. Keep treating people with honor, even when they don't deserve it. Keep doing the right thing, even when no one claps for it, because your integrity is working in the background. God sees. Heaven records. And when it's time, promotion will come, and it won't come with strings attached. You don't want a platform that you have to keep lying to protect. You don't want influence that forces you to betray your values. You don't want success that demands your soul. You want the kind of success that's backed by peace, that's fueled by love, that's sealed with purpose. That's what the righteous receive. And here's the promise. When the manipulative fall, and they will, it's the righteous who will still be standing with clean hands, with clear consciences, with unshakable joy, because they didn't take shortcuts. They didn't manipulate. They didn't fake it. They trusted God. They moved with integrity. And now they're still here, still leading, still thriving, still favored. So if you're building something, build it right, build it slow, build it with truth, because manipulation can make you visible, but righteousness will make you valuable. And value always outlasts visibility. Trust the process, trust the truth. And above all, trust that the righteous will outlast them all. Listen, life is a journey of choices. Every day, you decide what kind of legacy you'll leave, what kind of person you'll be, and what kind of truth you'll stand for. The narcissist chooses control over growth, ego over legacy, manipulation over righteousness, and short-term applause over lasting impact. And because of those choices, their story rarely ends well. But here's the good news for you. You don't have to walk that path. You can choose differently. You can build on truth. You can lead with humility. You can outlast the manipulative by being righteous. You can invest in people rather than just yourself. You can create a legacy that echoes long after your name is spoken. The world is filled with distractions pulling you toward ego, pride, and control. But the call of greatness is a call to serve, to love, and to build what lasts beyond the moment. Don't settle for applause when you can have honor. Don't chase power when you can steward influence. Don't burn bridges when you can build them. Your future isn't defined by how loud you are today. It's defined by how faithful you are in the small moments. The truth will always come to light. The righteous will always endure. And those who wield on ego will eventually find themselves isolated, exposed, and forgotten. So stand firm. Stay humble. Stay humble. Keep walking in truth. Because your story, your legacy is waiting to be written. And it's up to you to write it with integrity, courage, and love. Remember this, where the narcissist eventually ends up is nowhere near where the righteous stand. Choose to be among the righteous. Choose to outlast. Choose to build a legacy that truly matters.